In a small town, Nebraska, a very unusual killer has appeared. He wears a mask of his victims, and after detecting their most hidden secret, he kills the victim without mercy. A group of friends must find out who the killer is, but sometimes the culprit is the one from whom you least expect it. Hey guys, this is Afraid, and you are watching There's Someone Inside Your House. Let's get into it. We are in Nebraska. In this big house lives Jackson Pace together with his family. Jackson is a football player at Osborne High School. While talking to his friend on the phone and eating Doritos, he observes a strange timer egg on the table, but he doesn't mind it. He has a football game in 4 hours and decides to take a nap before playing. It's dark outside. Oddly enough, his phone was replaced with the timer egg. He wakes up and realizes he is late. He quickly goes outside, but his car is missing. He tries to call 911, but hangs up after noticing a photo of himself with a friend. Turning around, he sees another printed photo and another. Jackson starts tearing up the photos, following the trail. He seems very nervous. Something is wrong with those photos. The photos lead him to a room, and all of a sudden, he hears his phone ringing in a walk-in closet. He takes the golf club in his hand and heads for the walk-in closet. After opening the door, we see the room filled with photos of a guy being beaten to a pulp. From the pictures, it sure looks like Jackson brutally punched that guy. Slowly, a knife approaches Jackson's feet, and the killer makes a lethal cut that knocks Jackson to the ground. The killer is wearing an Osborne High School sweatshirt. He also has a mask that looks like Jackson's face. Jackson, scared to death, apologized for what he had done. The killer looked at him for a second and stabbed him in the heart with a knife. In the meantime, the game has already started, and Jackson's father is calling him. After a moment, all the people start getting a video of Jackson beating a guy until blood spurts from the guy's mouth. This was something that no one knew. It was Jackson's deepest secret. In the following scene, we see how the killer uses a program to form the mask of his victims and a 3D printer that creates them. The next day everyone had received Jackson's video, everyone knew the truth. Nevertheless, everyone at school had left a remembrance gift for Jackson and some letters. Most of the students at school had left a remembrance gift for Jackson and a few letters. Here we meet the main character, who brings Jackson a card that reads, "Get well soon." Really? Anyway, this is Makani Young, who moved from Hawaii to Nebraska to live with her grandmother and finish high school. We also meet her friends. Alex Crisp, a sunny, outgoing girl. Rodrigo, who has been bullied by Jackson for 3 years, is a pretty shy guy. Zach Stanford is the son of a very powerful person in town. She likes to smoke weed more than the food, I suppose. Last but not least, she, he, or they is Derby, a very bright person. During the lunch hour, everyone was considering who might have killed Jackson. Zach said it might have been his father. According to Zach, Jackson's family would no longer live in the house where their son died. He also adds that no one wanted that land as much as his father did. During the lunch hour, we meet another character, Caleb Greeley. Caleb is a high school football player who is discriminated against by his teammates for being gay. Add to that the fact that he was the guy beaten up by Jackson, and now he is being targeted by his teammates. On one table stood the student council president, Katie Coons, to read an excerpt from one of her essays on intolerance. What an angel, right? As she prayed, Makani and a guy looked at each other. The guy's name is Oliver Larson. He's the silent guy. Oliver was Makani's ex-boyfriend, but no one knew that. Nevertheless, this was not Makani's biggest secret. After getting out of school, to relax and have a good time, the group smoked some joints inside Zach's car. It's evening. We are at Makani's house. She is having dinner with her grandmother. The grandmother has a sleeping problem. She sleepwalks at night, so she decided to get help from an institution. They start a conversation about Makani's past. It seems that the girl has something to hide. In her room, while writing a poem, she receives a message from Oliver. She tries to ignore it. Makani woke up in the middle of the night because her grandmother was sleepwalking again. There was chaos in the kitchen, but Makani managed to find her grandmother, who was behind the door. We find ourselves in a Catholic church where Katie is with her colleague, Marcus. At least it looks that way. Katie is talking about Jackson's case, and all of a sudden, she receives a message from Marcus telling her that he couldn't make it today. Katie is confused. Wasn't Marcus with her at church? She immediately calls him to find out what was going on, and Marcus tells her that he was not at the church. After a moment, a podcast starts up. It was Katie's podcast. She was talking about the white race and its superiority. In short, we find out her secret. She was a real hidden racist. She began to tear up and shake, and behind her appeared the killer with the mask that looked like Katie's face. He pulled out the same knife he had killed Jackson with. Katie began to panic and bring up excuses on the podcast. The killer began to follow her and cut her in the middle of the chest with a razor-sharp blade. In the meantime, people were trying to get into the church, but the killer had locked the doors. Katie did not die after the first blow and began to run away, entering the confessional. After a series of blows into the void, the killer stuck the blade in and pushed Katie against the knife. When people entered the church, they saw the horrific scene. Katie was hanging with a rope tied around her neck. All the while, her podcast continued to be played. The next day, everyone knew the truth about Katie. During the evening, Makani tried to Google her name, her real name, Makani Sun Woo. While searching, she had flashbacks of her being arrested. In the process, Rodrigo called her, who was fighting with his mother. During the conversation, it becomes clear that Rodrigo likes Alex, but is afraid to tell her. The next day, all the students who knew Jackson and Katie were called into the police station to answer some questions. When Zach's turn came, the sheriff basically told him that his dad saved his butt and he was free to go. Outside the station, he met his father. He learned that Zach smoked marijuana, so he gave him a lecture. Zach seems frustrated. They don't have a grandiose father-son relationship. Makani and Oliver are the last ones left in the station. Oliver is waiting for his brother, the sheriff, to finish the job. He looked at Makani and started talking to himself to get Makani's attention. During the conversation, we get to know that Makani broke up with Oliver for no reason. In fact, because she didn't want others to know they were dating. Suddenly, Oliver's brother comes out of the office to ask if they saw someone taking his taser. Oliver, of course, denied it. Makani's turn finally came. Once she entered the office, she seemed very anxious. She didn't want the sheriff to find out about her past. Luckily for her, the sheriff didn't have any weird doubts about her. Maybe he knew the truth about her, but he said nothing. After leaving the office, Makani called Oliver outside for a walk. Even though it was a curfew, the two went outside. Oliver came out in style, giving the middle finger to the brother. After finding a place to stop, with music playing in the background, they began to kiss, but were interrupted by some guys running during curfew. In the car, Makani received an invitation to a party at Zach's house. The couple, of course, headed to the big party. In the house, everyone was revealing their secrets. It was kind of a secret party. Somehow, it makes sense. By revealing their secrets, the killer would lose the only weapon he has against his victims, except the knife. While they were talking, Alex observed Oliver watching them, and Rodrigo called him a sociopath, after which Oliver left. In the middle of the party, Derby is accepted into NASA, after which everyone happily starts hugging her. Each one continues to reveal their secrets. Alex reveals that she has a crush on Rodrigo, and Rodrigo does the same. When Makani's turn came, she said she writes poetry. Of course, she lies. It's all much deeper. Zach finally revealed that he was going to fail the class because his grades were very low. After that, he pulled out a Luger 08 semi-automatic pistol and stuck it in his mouth. Everyone was shocked, but after a second, Zach blew out the smoke. It was a joint gun. if I can call it that. The real celebration came when Zach showed off the collection of Nazi memorabilia. Zach converted all these weapons into pipes, hookahs, and bongs. The absolute fun began. One was higher than the other. Thinking about it though, we can see that Zach created all of this to go against his father's words, doing it on purpose. During the party, Alex and Rodrigo went to the bathroom, caught up in the passion. After getting out, Rodrigo thanked her. Oh boy. Immediately, Rodrigo noticed on the floor his pills. Suddenly, everyone received a message with Rodrigo's secret. He was taking painkillers. Since he had problems in his family, he took the pills to manage his anxiety, and over time, became addicted to these medications. All the lights went out. Everyone was confused. One guy saw a strange guy wearing a mask with Rodrigo's face on it. Everyone realized that the killer was among them and began to run. Rodrigo was alone in the house and managed for a while to hide from the killer, but he received a notification on his phone. The killer heard it and started to follow him. Rodrigo managed to escape outside, but was tasered from behind and fell into the fountain. The killer picked him up and made him swallow all the pills. After that, with a knife blow, the killer cut his throat. He threw him into the fountain, and the water began to turn red from the blood. At this point, everyone begins to believe that Oliver is the culprit. Too easy. He has no friends, no parents, a difficult past. Who else but him, right? The only person who continued to defend him was Makani. The next morning, Oliver showed up at her door to take her on a road trip. They left that morning and stopped in the middle of a cornfield. During the conversation, they start joking about Oliver being the killer and that he needs to know Makani's secret before he kills her. They start kissing passionately, and Oliver's phone starts ringing. It was cold outside, and Makani got into the car to get her jacket. In the car, she found a taser and immediately thought of Rodrigo. Makani asked about Oliver's parents. He noted to her that they died in a car accident because they were driving while drunk. When something terrible happens, people need someone to blame. When she heard this sentence from Oliver, she immediately thought of her past. She realized that Oliver knew everything about her. At this point, Makani got out of the car and walked away. Later, Dave, the taxi driver, drove her home. She was alone because her grandmother was in the institution. Once inside the house, she locked the doors and took a knife into the room. She woke up in the middle of the night. The knife was no longer in the room, and the doors were all open. There was someone in the house. She picked up the phone to call 911, but the audio of her trial began to play. In one room, there was a fire. She thought it was Oliver. Once she entered, the room was filled with pictures of a girl with severe burns. Outside the window, there was a masked person. Guess what mask? Correct, with Makani's face. The killer broke the window and tasered her. He entered the house and started dousing Makani with gasoline, after which he burned a newspaper to set Makani on fire. But she managed to make the killer fall by pulling his foot. Someone was about to enter the house. The killer dropped his mask and ran away. It was Alex. The girl was shocked. Makani began to say that the killer was Oliver. Soon after, Alex received the picture of Makani being arrested. As a result, they all received it. The next day, Makani was in the hospital, and she learns that Oliver has been arrested. Her friends wanted to know the truth, the secret Makani was hiding. Makani, along with other girls, was kidnapped by senior girls. They were all humiliated and forced to get drunk. After that, they made them turn on each other. Makani, being drunk, pushed a girl named Jasmine into the fire. Jasmine managed to survive, but with severe burns. Zach's father decided to throw a party to flaunt his private security services. Everyone was going to the party, but Makani missed the bus, so she had to wait for Alex and the others. Soon after, she received a message from Darby, who texted her that Oliver is out. He was on the loose. A car approached. It was Oliver. Makani started to run and call 911, but was interrupted by Caleb. It seemed that time stopped for Makani when someone from behind had stabbed Caleb in the back with a knife. It was the killer, with Caleb's face. The killer did not kill Makani, but put the knife in her hand and ran away. Immediately, Oliver arrived and tried to help Caleb. That's when she realized the killer wasn't Oliver. It's dark. We are at the Sanford party. The killer walked among the people and entered the corn maze. He began to pour gasoline to set everything on fire. Makani, along with the others, head towards the party, but the corn maze is already catching fire. In the car, Makani got a call from Zach, who said that everything was catching fire and that he needed to find his father. To help the others trapped in the maze, they decided to form a path with the car. It was like driving through hell. Darby and Alex went to help their schoolmates. Makani and Oliver were supposed to help Zach. In the search for Zach, they found his father and the killer, face to face. The killer was wearing the mask of Zach's father. It was obvious what he was going to do. With a razor-sharp blade, he drove his sword through Stanford's head. The killer pulled out his mask, and no one could expect it to be Zach himself. Zach began to complain about his father, and Oliver in the meantime tried to taser him, but failed. Zach at this point cut him with his sword in the middle of the stomach. Zach began to make a speech about how everyone was hiding their true selves and that he couldn't do it because he was born into a rich family and therefore was discriminated against because of it. If Zach had killed Makani, he would have gotten away with it because the cops had been changed by his father. Meanwhile, Oliver tried to shoot him for the second time, but he missed. Zach got distracted, and Makani plunged the knife into his liver. She pulled out the knife and hit him one more time. It was all finally over. The killer was dead. The movie ends with everyone being happy. Caleb has gotten to his dream college, while Alex will now be going to the music school that she always wanted to. Meanwhile, Darby has gotten into NASA. On the other hand, Makani and Oliver are together again. But most importantly, Makani calls Jasmine and talks to her about that night, which makes her feel liberated. So to really understand what happened here, let me explain. Zach was a sociopath. He hated his father for being too authoritative and giving him all the wealth and privilege he never asked for. He lived a life in denial, hating his family's legacy. For a moment, he was ashamed, or people shamed him for being born with privilege. But then, Zach said it wasn't his fault he was born white, rich, and privileged. He realized that everyone was hiding behind a mask, and they shouldn't have the audacity to judge someone like Zach, who lived a real life, revealing his true self. Zach couldn't change his last name or change who he was. So, he decided to threaten everyone else to come out and reveal their true selves. My overall rating for this movie, on a scale of 1 to 10, would be 8. The young actors gave a performance that was not bad at all. I hope they will satisfy us again in the future. How much would you rate this movie? Let me know down in the comments, and tell me which movie you would like to see next. If you enjoyed this video, press that like button, and subscribe to not miss horror movies like this one. And as always, stay afraid.